You know, there are few instruments out there with the sheer power of the pipe organ. It can whisper a prayer 1 second and then thunder with the force of an entire orchestra the next. For centuries, its home was the church, its voice pretty much reserved for the divine. So how in the world did it make that epic leap from the sanctuary to the secular stage? Well, let's dive into its incredible journey.
Just to give you a sense of scale, take a look at this number, 28,750. That's how many pipes are in the Wanamaker organ in Philadelphia, one of the biggest and most famous in the world. To put that into perspective, its sound has been compared to 3 full symphony orchestras playing all at once. We're talking about a true giant.
And hey, this isn't some new reputation. Even Mozart himself called it the king of instruments. The sheer scale and complexity were, and honestly still are, just mind-boggling. In fact, before the Industrial Revolution, it was considered one of the most complex things humans had ever built.
Which brings us to our big question here. How did this instrument, so deeply connected to sacred music and worship, break free? How did it find a brand new voice in civic halls, movie palaces, and some of the world's most modern concert halls? It's a really fascinating story of technology, taste, and total transformation.
Okay, so first, we have to understand where it all started. For most of its life, the organ's identity was completely tied to the church. It was truly an instrument of sacred power, designed to inspire awe and devotion.
The organ's roots go way, way back to ancient Greece with this water-powered invention called the hydraulis. But by the 13th century, it was basically adopted exclusively by the Christian church. It then spent the next 400 years evolving specifically for that purpose, for liturgical use, eventually becoming the complex instrument we'd recognize today. And, this was a very intentional move. The early church was looking for a sound that was totally separate from the music of everyday life, something you definitely wouldn't hear in a bar or a brothel. The organ, with its sustained, powerful, almost otherworldly tones, was the perfect fit. It just didn't sound like anything else on earth.
But then, a shift started to happen. The king of instruments began to wander out of its traditional home, taking its very first steps into a whole new, secular world.
And this change in scenery was, it was dramatic. The organ's whole purpose had to be completely redefined. It went from serving a congregation during worship to entertaining people who bought tickets. Its music changed from sacred hymns to secular symphonies, and its home went from a solemn church to an opulent public hall. This was a massive identity crisis for an instrument. So how did it happen? Well, it was a gradual process. In the 18th century, it started popping up in the private homes of the very wealthy. But the real game changer was in 1775, when a London concert hall installed an organ as one of its main features. Then, by the mid-19th century, it just exploded. This town hall tradition took hold, and cities all over started installing these massive concert organs in public buildings as a sign of civic pride.
Now, for the organ to truly make it on the concert stage, it needed more than just a new building. It needed a whole new voice. It basically had to become an orchestra in a box. And that required a technological revolution.
And the key figure in this transformation was a man named Aristide Cavaillé-Coll. This French organ builder is absolutely pivotal to our story. He wasn't just a craftsman. He was a true innovator who completely reimagined what an organ could sound like and what it could do. He's really the father of what we call the symphonic organ.
Cavaillé-Coll brought in a whole bunch of game-changing ideas. He used higher wind pressures, which meant a bigger, more powerful sound. He created new harmonic stops. These are pipes specifically designed to imitate orchestral instruments, like an oboe or a bassoon. He perfected something called the swell box, which let the organist create crescendos and decrescendos, getting louder and softer, just like an orchestra. And maybe most crucially, he used the Barker lever, a pneumatic device that made it physically possible for just one person to actually play these enormous, high-pressure instruments.
And the impact was immediate. When the great composer César Franck sat down at one of Cavaillé-Coll's new instruments, he was just blown away. He didn't say, "Oh, what a nice organ." No, he declared, "My new organ? It's an orchestra." The transformation was complete. The organ could now truly sound like an entire symphony.
This new orchestral power led to the organ's wildest phase yet, the theater organ. See, silent movies needed a soundtrack, and hiring a live orchestra was super expensive. An inventor named Robert Hope Jones, who later worked with Wurlitzer, created something he called a unit orchestra,
a pipe organ designed purely for entertainment. And it was packed with percussion and all sorts of crazy sound effects, from doorbells to bird whistles, all playable by just one person.
So this wild journey into secular entertainment really kicked off a new era for the organ. It became incredibly versatile, and that cemented its place in the modern world. In the 20th century, the organ just went everywhere. I mean, it was installed in the mansions of the super rich, in huge outdoor amphitheaters, and of course, in those grand movie palaces that were basically cathedrals to cinema. It also became a permanent fixture in universities, with recital halls being built specifically around its unique acoustic needs. And that innovation is still happening today. Just look at the organ in the Walt Disney Concert Hall. It was designed with the architect Frank Gehry, and its pipes aren't hidden away. They are a visible, sculptural part of the hall itself, with these amazing curved wooden pipes that had never been made before. It's as much a piece of art as it is an instrument. So, if you take one thing away from this, it's this. The organ's survival and its incredible success outside the church is a story of adaptation. It had to reinvent its technology, its purpose, and its very voice to thrive in all these new spaces. It went from a sacred voice to a true secular superstar. I mean, think about it. From a water-powered Greek invention to a symphonic powerhouse and a stunning piece of architecture, the organ has never, ever stopped evolving. Which leaves us with a final thought. What new worlds are left for the king of instruments to conquer next?